The company has decided on a demotion for me. My husband came home with a grim look on his face. What? I almost spilled my tea in shock. His company had been performing poorly lately, and I had heard there would be significant personnel changes due to restructuring, but I never imagined that he would be directly affected. However, as his wife, I felt it was especially important to be supportive in times like these. Well, I guess we just have to chalk it up to bad luck. Times are tough, but I'm working too, so don't worry, I replied cheerfully. My name is Emily, and I'm 50 years old. I currently work part-time in an administrative role. I live with my husband, Kevin, who is 2 years older than me, our 16-year-old daughter Sarah, and Kevin's 72-year-old mother, Barbara. Barbara and I don't exactly see eye to eye, but since I work outside the home, we only see each other when I'm around. So I try not to let it bother me. I told Sarah, your dad's a bit down about a demotion at work, but let's act normal around him. But then, Kevin started taking his frustration out on me. And oh, how he took it out. They say people lash out at those closest to them, and that was true here, as all his anger was directed at me. The next day, while I was mopping the hallway with a Swiffer during my day off, he passed by and suddenly said, "You've gotten fat, haven't you? Compared to when we got married." I responded, Well, yeah, I'm 50, after all. I read in a gynecology pamphlet that women tend to gain weight around menopause. But I didn't get flagged for obesity in my company's health check. He retorted, health checks aside, your figure is just too unsightly. It's shameful to be seen with someone looking like a mortar. It's all self-indulgence. I was at a loss for words at his unkind remark. Then he just said, ugly, and locked himself in his room. What? What just happened? I pinched my side. Sure, there was something to pinch. I could easily grasp the curve between my thumb and forefinger, indicating I had indeed gained some weight. But why bring this up now? I was so shocked that I forgot I was holding the Swiffer, and it slipped from my hands, clattering to the floor. The stick slipped from my hand, clattering loudly as it fell to the floor in the hallway. From that day on, the hostility directed at me only intensified. Unfortunately, Barbara had overheard our conversation that weekend and decided to join in, doubling the trouble. Once, while I was carrying a laundry basket upstairs, Barbara waited at the top, not bothering to come down. Oh, how annoying. If you weren't so fat, we could pass each other on the stairs. Because of your size, I have to wait here, she complained. Furthermore, when I served fried chicken for dinner, it was taken away with the remark, "Isn't it because you eat stuff like this that you're getting fat?" Then, with a snide comment, "Let's have the three of us, excluding the overweight one, eat it." My gynecologist once said, after middle age, women either gain or lose weight, and Barbara was on the thinner side. She was so thin, she looked like a dried-up tree. But I could still tolerate Barbara's treatment. I had grown somewhat accustomed to her petty harassment over time. What really hurt me was Kevin's behavior. Since that incident, he had stopped talking to me altogether. He would eat the breakfast I prepared without a word of thanks. He just ate in silence and then stood up without a word. He'd silently go to the bath and come out just as quietly. We shared a bedroom, but he would just turn his back and play with his phone. Being treated like air was unbearable for me. One night, in the bedroom, I finally mustered the courage to ask, "Hey, have I done something to be ignored like this?" He replied, "Not really. It's just that I only want to talk to humans. You don't want to be seen as part of the same family with that size. If you love me, lose weight," he said. I felt disheartened by his words. But, it's natural at middle age. You know that, right? I even walk 2 kilometers to and from work. I'm trying my best. Indeed, I was making efforts to combat weight gain due to aging. But he turned away, saying, "If there are no results, it's the same as not trying at all. Please don't talk to me anymore." From then on, he truly stopped responding to anything I said. Barbara kept harassing me about my weight, questioning whether I should be eating meat, fruit, and pasta with comments like, "Should you be eating that? Are you aware of your condition?" As a result, I could only eat salads and stews. Kevin just silently moved his cutlery, not saying a word. Maybe our marriage was beyond saving. I started packing my things in my spare time. If being ignored and treated like air by my husband meant I should become invisible, then so be it. When I confided in Sarah about moving back to my parents' house, she agreed, "Yeah, I understand. I've seen Grandma and Dad's bullying you at every meal. It's hard for me too. I'll go with you. I can still commute to school from there." Now, the day before the start of his demotion, which had been decided a while ago, Kevin came up with a smile, saying, "How about we all have a drink tonight? I'll make cocktails." Tomorrow marks the start of a life without any subordinates for him. Perhaps that's an unbearable thought for him. But by then, I no longer had the will to indulge him. Even his forced smile was irritating. He said, "I'll make some cocktails." Come to think of it, this might be the first time I've heard him speak to me since the day after the announcement of his demotion. "Sarah will be fine with juice. I'll make a cocktail for Mom too," Kevin said. He placed the prepared drinks at 3 spots on the table. Strange. What was he up to all of a sudden? While he turned his back to search for the TV remote, I took a moment to sniff the drink he had offered. Faintly, but unmistakably, that smell was there. This faint smell. I recognized it because I had used it in cooking before. To think he'd add such a thing to a drink. Unforgivable. I had endured Barbara's bullying and Kevin's neglect. But now, I was ready to fight back. The cocktails pushed me over the edge. "Sorry, honey. Could you get the camembert cheese from the fridge? It's from Flower Field Farm and really delicious." "I'm so happy for this family moment," I said. He must have felt obliged to fetch it when I mentioned how happy I was about this family moment. "All right, if it's special, let's open that too," Kevin said, heading towards the refrigerator. While he was away and before Barbara and Sarah sat down, I swapped the drink from the right seat with another. The right seat. It was Barbara's. Kevin returned with the cheese. "All right, now that we have all the snacks, I'll call Sarah and your mother over," I said loud enough for both of them to hear. "Dinner's ready." They came into the living room and took their seats. The usual dinner. I didn't have steak or potato on my plate. Just salad, soup, and cheese. And the cocktails. Sarah had juice. "Let's eat," Sarah exclaimed out loud. Barbara and Kevin remained silent. I drank the cocktail that Kevin had made as usual. He was staring intently at me. I smiled at him and said, "Yeah, it's delicious." I heard Kevin mutter faintly but ignored it. I enjoyed my salad and took another sip of the cocktail. Then, suddenly, blarg. A beam of red liquid spewed from Barbara. It was like Godzilla's atomic breath. What's happening, Grandma?" Sarah exclaimed in shock as the liquid splashed onto her salad, and she stood up abruptly. "Did it get stuck in your throat? Are you okay?" Sarah quickly fetched a towel and hurried back. But upon returning and offering the towel to Barbara, who wiped her mouth with it. "What is that?" Sarah's voice was full of disbelief. "Grandma, your lips are swollen." Barbara started freaking out. "Hey. It's spicy. So spicy. What did you put in my drink?" She screamed, lunging at me. I coldly brushed off her hands. "It wasn't me. Kevin made it." It was probably the first time she had been rebuffed like that, and the fact that Kevin had made it was unexpected. Barbara exclaimed with her swollen lips. She then turned to look at Kevin. Kevin was trembling. I leaned over the table, bringing my face close to Kevin, applying pressure. "You thought the color of the cocktails would disguise it, didn't you?" I noticed a faint smell, familiar because I've used it in cooking before. "That was Hell's Drop in there, right?" Hell's Drop. I bought it at a farmer's market. While death sauce is famous for being spicy, I preferred Hell's Drop because it had yuzu in it. I noticed a hint of yuzu scent, which meant a significant amount was mixed into the liquid. Barbara, not knowing either, didn't notice because of the wine cooler's scent or thought the yuzu scent was part of the seasoning. She had drunk it unknowingly. Regardless, it was beyond a prank. It was downright malicious. Dad did that? Why?" Sarah was visibly taken aback. "I intended it for Emily." Kevin confessed, and Barbara started shouting. Exchange it with yours, now, she demanded, foaming at her swollen lips. Barbara was unreasonable. Even if she didn't know, the fact she wanted to push such a thing onto me once she realized it was meant for me was outrageous. No way, why would I exchange such a scary drink? I continued to apply pressure on Kevin, ignoring her demand in a low voice. Then I demanded an explanation from Kevin. I just can't comprehend what you're doing. Why would you do such a thing? He then said, you remained overweight and spicy food boosts metabolism, so I made it for you. Ha, pathetic. Such a pitiful excuse. I forced a smile. Could he really believe such a reason would be acceptable? Utterly disgraceful. Kevin recoiled under the pressure, backing his chair away slightly. It's not uncomfortable, this is a legitimate reason to support dieting. Here, swap with moms and drink this. I made it for you. I closed the distance as he retreated. What are you talking about? Since you made it, you should taste it to see if it's good, right? Here. I stood up, grabbed the glass with a Hell's Droppa that had been in front of Barbara, and slammed it down in front of Kevin. I leaned in closer again. Did you really think I would drink something you suddenly offered with a smile, after ignoring me and treating me like air all this time? Couldn't your empty head imagine that possibility? Isn't it childish? Now, taste it as the person who made it. Take responsibility. I slammed my hand on the table. At the sound, Kevin, realizing he couldn't just back away, stood up from his chair and retreated further. A tense silence followed, then a quiet voice said, drink it. A quiet voice was heard. Kevin and I turned towards the voice. It was our daughter, Sarah. She began to speak as if squeezing the words out. Taking out your work frustrations on mom, who supports you the most, and then resorting to such childish pranks. I might not be supposed to say this as your daughter, but it's just too immature to watch. Sarah stood up. Turning to Kevin, she continued. Is being overweight so bad? Mom wakes up early, walks to work, brings her lunch, she's trying. It's not like she's not making an effort. Then, turning to Barbara. And Grandma, joining in by taking away Mom's dinner. Your behavior is like middle school bullies. It's unseemly. Barbara, flustered by her granddaughter's words, stammered, no, it's not that. I was just worried. Worried that your mom might get even fatter. She probably wanted to be seen in a good light by her granddaughter. In fact, Barbara did like Sarah. But this time, Sarah was harsh. Compassion is something that should be felt by the other person. Watching Mom's dinner was heart-wrenching. She looked so sad. You can't call that compassion. Mom hasn't even been flagged in her health checks, and yet you take away her food. That's just mean. Barbara fell silent. By the way, it seemed Sarah had finished saying what she needed to say to Barbara. Sarah continued, now turning back to Kevin. Mom even goes to the gynecologist every month and does her exercises. Yet you ignore her for being overweight. Who do you think you are to do that? Don't you realize how bad the atmosphere at home has become because of your treatment? Even the KFC's colonel is overweight. There's a term, happy weight gain. I'd be happy if Mom became a cute grandma. I dream of Mom becoming a chubby grandma and saying, you've gained happy weight, while holding my child. Won't you let my dream come true? Sarah's gaze, as she spoke calmly, was as cold as ice. Yet, her words warmed my heart. It is like hot milk enjoyed with cookies. A father scorned by his own daughter is a pitiful sight. And just to add, Sarah said to Kevin, if you're going to ignore someone for age-related weight gain, you should be aware that with your thinning hair, you could be ignored even sooner by others. The atmosphere at the table turned incredibly tense. Sarah's sharp words left the room feeling as cold as if bananas could freeze. It seemed she had said all she wanted to. With a sigh, she turned to me. It's enough, Mom. Let's end this. It's better to be free and happy. Her words startled me. To be free and happy. Yes, that's right, to be free and happy. As I said earlier, my dream is to see you holding my child and talking about happy weight gain. I want you to be happy for me, to fulfill my dream. Be free and happy, and make my dream come true. Her words filled my heart to the brim. Overwhelmed by Sarah's every word, I felt warm tears streaming down my cheeks, rendering the mistreatment from my husband and Barbara's fat-shaming, along with the drink incident, insignificant. Yes, you're right, you're right. My vision blurred with tears. Come on, Mom, hurry up. Sarah patted and then caressed my back. Okay. I went to the kitchen and returned with a document I had been hiding. Kevin uttered in surprise. After being ignored for a month, I started thinking about it. I've been packing my bags. Let's each start a new path separately. I presented the divorce papers. Wait a minute, I just wanted you to lose weight. I thought I'd be satisfied if you did what I wanted. I realized it's just lashing out after Sarah said it. I wanted to hurt you more for not losing weight. I didn't think it would come to this. Kevin started to panic. It's too late to realize the gravity of your actions, and your little actions were too childish. Sarah sharply retorted. Apparently, the prospect of not living with her beloved granddaughter was no joke for Barbara. In a moment of panic, she resorted to an incredibly sweet, cajoling tone. Hey, Sarah, you want to live with your grandma forever, right? I refuse. I don't want to breathe the same air as people acting like middle schoolers. Sarah dismissed Barbara's plea. Wait, I get it. I'll taste it as the one who made it. I'll take responsibility. Kevin grabbed the cup in front of him and downed it in one go. Blarg. Like Barbara earlier, my husband also spewed a stream of red liquid, resembling a flamethrower. This resulted in his lips swelling up, resembling fish roe. See, I took responsibility, Sarah. Sarah took a photo of them with swollen lips on her phone, saying, both of you look ridiculous. Mom, let's go, and left the living room. Yes. I followed her out. Thus, the dining table was left with a mess of cocktail and two people with swollen lips. I moved back to my parents' house with Sarah. After explaining the situation, my parents were furious and confronted Kevin and Barbara. They returned with the divorce papers, and the divorce was finalized. Kevin, already on the decline at work, ended up living a lackluster life. I learned that he had been demoted due to ignoring his subordinates. Barbara, already difficult and reclusive, found her life with Kevin more strained than ever. Ultimately, Kevin called, saying, the tense atmosphere we have now wouldn't exist if you and Sarah were here. The 17 years we lived together since Sarah was born proved that. Please come back, I'll stop ignoring you, but there was no chance of returning. Gain weight while you can. You'll need the energy when you have grandkids, my mother laughed. That's true. Today, as usual, I walked to my workplace. On the way, my supervisor happened to drive by, stopped his car, and offered, do you want a lift? No, thanks, I'm on a diet. Come on, get in, Emily. Yes, I had found a new love. Both of us divorced, we understood each other's struggles. Dieting's fine, but don't be late. He said as he drove. I've never been late. I puffed out my cheeks. He turned to me, pressing my puffed cheek with his finger. Spare me the time you saved by taking the car for a chat. He joked, a talkative and charming boyfriend.